The Wow Signal, the new album from British rockers Muse, features some of their hardest hitting, catchiest songs yet, but the band could definitely use to pull back on some of their cheesier, more melodramatic impulses. I'm going to break it all down on this edition of Rock Album Review. Hey everybody, it's Nick here with you. Welcome back to the channel. The Wow Signal is the 10th studio album from Muse. It's the follow-up to 2022's Will of the People. And I really like Muse. I'm more of a casual Muse fan than a hardcore Muse fan, but I enjoy their music, going back to Absolution back in 2003. And for me, Muse always kind of filled the void of Radiohead. When Radiohead left the rock world and went more electronic, to me, Muse filled that void. Obviously, Matt Bellamy's voice is very similar to Tom York, but to me, Muse always struck me as a more rocky Radiohead. As I said, I was really into Muse from Absolution all the way through to Black Holes and Revelations. Loved the Resistance and the Second Law, but started losing interest around Drones in 2015, and I barely listened to Simulation Theory or Will of the People. That being said, Muse has never really been an album band for me. I've always been more into their singles and their popular tracks, and I think the thing is with Muse, they've always kind of been kept from being one of my favorite UK bands because they've always been a little bit too operatic and too melodramatic for me. Don't get me wrong, I love Muse, I think they're a great band, but they've never really appealed to me in the same way that some of my favorite UK bands have, like Biffy Clyro or Don Broco or Nothing But Thieves or Bring Me the Horizon. I have seen Muse live though, going back I think to 2013 on the Second Law tour. Biffy Clyro opened up for that tour. Absolutely insane show. I mostly went for Biffy because they're one of my favorite bands of all time, but Muse put on a fantastic show in terms of production and overall spectacle. And this new album, The Wow Signal, was produced by Dan Lancaster, who is the go-to guy for a lot of bands out there these days, like Don Broco and Bring Me the Horizon. He's got his hands in a lot of solid rock coming out of the UK and beyond over the last decade. To be honest, I was not super excited about listening to this new album, The Wow Signal. Like I said, I love Muse, but I was expecting this to be kind of overdrawn, a little bit long and melodramatic, kind of a chore to listen to be honest, but there were more moments on this record that I enjoyed than I expected. I feel like this is really more of the same from Muse. You're not really getting anything super new from them. This is a Muse record through and through, but if you're a Muse fan and you enjoy their music, 10 albums in, they're still going really strong, and I think you'll really enjoy this record. As I said, even though I love their rock stuff, Muse has a tendency to get a little too melodramatic and kind of cheesy for my taste. It feels like for every rock song that we get on the Wow Signal, we also get a really schmaltzy track like the opener, The Dark Forest, or Shimmering Scars, or the closer, Space Debris. The band does these songs really well, but they don't really appeal to me. They just feel a little too heavy-handed. That said, there are some really great punchy rock tracks on here. Nightshit Superstar sounds awesome. The groove is infectious on that track. Really enjoyed that. There's some really great breakdowns on this record on Cryogen and The Sickness in You and The Unraveling. Like some legit, like down-tuned as shit breakdowns on here that could rival any hardcore band. Before we continue, guys, if you like this video, make sure to toss me a thumbs up. I'd very much appreciate that. And if you like what I'm doing here on the channel and you want to talk more about our favorite bands, make sure to smash the subscribe button so you don't miss out on future videos. All right, let's get back to it. I gotta shout out Muse bassist Chris Wolstenholme, who once again really drives a lot of these songs with his incredible bass playing, especially on Nightshit Superstar, Cryogen, and The Sickness in You and I. He's one of the main reasons why this album sounds so great. His tone, his playing. I think the bass is really one of the best things about Muse. One of the things I do love about Muse are their song titles. They always have really cool song titles that have a spacey kind of sci-fi vibe to them, and I love the titles on this record.
Nightshit Superstar,
Cryogen,
Hexagons, The Dark Forest, Space Debris.
Even though he's a fantastic vocalist, sometimes Matt Bellamy's vocals and melodies tend to be a little bit too operatic and almost inaccessible. I'm a singer myself, and I love singing along with all my favorite bands and songs, but Muse's songs aren't exactly the kind of tunes that you'd be belting out in your car on a sunny day, are they? But I will say the Wow Signal features some really great hooks and some really great melodies, more than I was expecting, especially on songs like Nightshit Superstar and Cryogen. Be With You was another really strong single from this record. Hexagons is super catchy. I was not expecting to be as engaged as I was with the melodies on this record. And if there's one major strength about the songs on the Wow Signal is that they all sound like they would translate really well live. Muse's live show is beyond epic, and a lot of these songs with their epic intros and outros and breakdowns would be welcome additions to the live set list. And I love how Muse continues to be really just a huge, ambitious band with their songwriting and their production and their live shows. Not a lot of bands can operate on the same level as Muse when it comes to what they do. They are blockbuster music. They are the Christopher Nolan of the music universe. Muse even channels the great band Rush, my fellow Canadians, on this record on the Wow Signal. On the track Hexagons with this huge guitar riff, the rototoms, which are very Neil Peart on that track. The synths on this track, even the title reeks of Rush.
Hexagons.
It's the type of track that wouldn't have felt out of place on 2112. Overall, I like the new Muse album, The Wow Signal. I didn't love it, but there are definitely some songs on here that I'll put in my playlist. I like when Muse rocks. I don't really like it when they get into the cheesy piano, operatic stuff. That tends to lose me a little, but that's also where I'm at as a music fan at this point in my life. I want to hear something harder hitting, and there are some definite standouts on this album, so I'm going to give the new album from Muse 3.5 out of 5. Favorite tracks for me on the Wow Signal were Nightshit Superstar, Cryogen, Be With You, Hexagons, The Sickness in You, and Unraveling. And that is it, guys. That is my rock album review for the new album from Muse called The Wow Signal. Now it's your turn. Hop into the comments below. Let me know what you thought of this new album from Muse. If you like this video, make sure to toss me a like and a thumbs up. I'd very much appreciate that. Make sure to smash the subscribe button so you don't miss out on future videos. And I'll see you guys again for another rock album review here on the channel. Until then, rock on, everybody.